So it's me, Dave. Um, I'm a man in a car recording a video, and that means I have opinions, and you gotta listen to them. But don't worry, I'm not some dickhead with a t-shirt company telling you how to feel about NFL players or anything. I want to talk to you about Touchbone, which is what I call my multimedia presence. I wanted to go over a few things. The first is Touchbone was really started back when I was in college about 15 years ago. I was taking commission work. When I worked at a radio station, a bunch of people wanted advertisements for their radio station. I was also trading art for various goods and services because I had no money. And that's where things really started. I would often make a little bit of dough off of making stories for web pages and blogs. MySpace at the time was just getting big. People wanted content. I was happy to deliver. It was a very small time operation at my local college, though. Then I joined the Marines, which, let me tell you, that's a thing. Oh boy. But while I was in the Marines, I met a lot of creative people, and Touchbone really formed out of my previous efforts when a lot of people wanted consulting work. They knew that I was really good at things like storytelling. I was very familiar with the structure of things like TV shows and novels. So a lot of people started bringing me their work and asking for my input on how to tighten it up. And it was that sort of collaboration that really got me into Touchbone Media. I had worked with people before when it came to different stories. Back in high school, I did a lot with a small group of friends. But this was really like, I would say, collaboration that was like intended. This wasn't just a few guys sitting around smoking marijuana and bullshitting about space guys. I mean, this was us actively trying to tell a specific story and finding the best way to do that. And that really worked for me. I liked it a lot. And so that's when I really started the Touchbone multimedia project. And as I've mentioned in posts before, it really has three main stories to it. I put like everything that I write under the Touchbone label, but there are three main universes I've been writing in. One is a science fiction future history, sort of the same thing that Heinlein was doing, where all of the stories in the future are connected, even if they're separated by 1,000 years, even if they don't share the same characters, they're all in the same narrative universe. And so events that happen in one story may not be referenced in a future story, but there's stuff that definitely happened in that universe. And when you're thinking about background information, when you're thinking about world building, those are the kind of things that, you think about the effects of those events on the future. So that's the one project. The other one that I work on is it's called Babel. Babel is maybe the most out there project that I've worked on, mainly because the demand for it is really my own personal demand. It's what I'm into. I really like Imaro by Charles Saunders, and I really like Conan the Barbarian. I read those stories a whole bunch as a kid. I got my first copy of Imaro when I was about 11, and then they put out an anniversary edition when I was in college, and I got that immediately. I love everything about the Amaro stories. And then Conan is just a huge pop culture figure, starting with the movies, and then his influence on things like the Masters of the Universe, Thundar the Barbarian. There's all kinds of media from when I was younger. Conan had an influence on it and was a part of it. And I really enjoyed those type of stories. I wanted to make my own, but I wanted to put a twist on it. And I started thinking about like the Fertile Crescent and where human civilization is alleged to have begun, and started thinking about ancient Mesopotamia, ancient Babylonians, and what the pre-human but still sort of a Conan-style fantasy world might look like in that region, right? Because we've got Imaro gives us a picture of Africa in a prehistoric fantasy, and Conan gives us a sort of prehistoric fantasy of Europe. But what about the Middle East? So that's what I focused on with Babel. And then the last project I really work on a lot is the superhero project. And that is, it's really just a fun, like, sort of playground for me as far as narrative goes. I've always been a comic book fan, but there are certain things that I've always wondered about, like, you know, where do supervillains get their funding? I mean, it seems like they're not successful a lot in stealing money, but they always have the dough for, like, wacky contraptions and stuff. So I wanted to think about questions like that. Things like superheroes, you know, and in a superhero world where they're all over the place, how do the courts handle their vigilantism, if they do at all? And then, I mean, the great thing about a superhero universe is really, as a genre, it allows you to explore almost any kind of story you want to tell. I mean, there are Western-themed superheroes, there are science fiction superheroes, super scientists, time travelers, there are regular old vigilantes. You've got guys like the Punisher. He's just a dude that shoots things. He's good with guns. You've got revenge stories, you've got justice stories, you've got tragedies. So it's really such a open-ended genre, almost like I would say like a meta genre. You can tell whatever kind of story you want, and I'm really into that. Also, it's just as a maybe as a young nerd thing, but it's just really fun to come up with different superheroes and their powers and their histories and everything. I enjoy doing that and then placing them into a story. But one of the focuses I really wanted to have with my superhero stories is getting away from the coasts. If you read most mainstream comics, even if the city's fictional, like it's a big east or west coast metropolis, it's huge, and it's on the coast, and it's like a center of culture. And I'm thinking, like, if I'm going to put on a costume and rob a bank, am I going to do it in New York City, or am I going to do it in Omaha? I mean, you're not getting a lot of money out of a bank robbery anyway, but if all the superheroes are in New York City and there's like 2 in Nebraska, I'll take my chances with those 2, right? So that's one thing that I wanted to make very, very clear about it. All of the stories in there, not necessarily the Midwest. A lot of people automatically assume Midwest whenever you're saying neither coast, but that's not really the case. It's more just, you know, not sprawling metropolis, but like regular everyday American cities. Other people live there too, you know. So anyway, that's been me as a guy driving and talking, giving his opinions into a phone camera in a car, which, as I said, that means you have to listen. That's the internet rules. You guys have a great rest of your day. I am going to upload some more content here in a day or two. I'm going to try and get things on a regular schedule, but I want to keep releasing stuff and seeing when people are the most receptive to it. So I haven't set a schedule yet until I see, when do people, because you guys got busy lives, you got stuff to do. So I'm not going to say, I'm releasing every Monday, and then you guys got shit to do on Monday, right? So anyway, everybody have a good day.